Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of VolleyBlogIT. My name is Iris Tolanata, and today we're going to be talking about the Jump Topspin Serve. Woo! Last week we talked about the stand float and the jump float. So if you want to improve your floaters, check out this link right here. This week we're going to focus on the jump topspin, and I'm going to give you drills, techniques, and some pointers on how to be an effective topspin server. We're also going to have Stanford women's volleyball assistant coach and Vision 18-1's head coach, Jason Mansfield. In addition, we're going to have Jordan Ewart, who's a Stanford men's volleyball commit, demonstrate how to be a good topspin server. To be an effective topspin server, you need to have heat and a lot of spin behind the ball. For example, if you guys watched the NCAA Division I Women's Championship, you saw the setter Micah Hancock with her really good topspin serve. She put a lot of heat and power behind that ball. Not a lot of passers were able to pass that. Notice how Micah isn't one of the biggest players on the court. But when she gives herself a really good toss, she's able to max jump in the air and generate power from her hips and her core and not just her shoulder. She doesn't have a lot of shoulder problems because she's able to use all of her upper body and put a lot of spin and a lot of heat on the ball. So it makes it really difficult for the passers. If you don't put enough spin on it, or if you don't put enough heat on it, it's going to be really easy for the passers to get a perfect pass. Hey everyone, we have here one of my very dear friends, Jason Mansfield from Stanford Women's Volleyball and Vision Volleyball Club. Thank you for being with us today, Jason.
Thanks for having me.
So can you tell us your overall philosophy and your opinion on the jump topspin serve in the women's game?
Yeah, you just don't see it very often. There was 3 girls this season that did it very effectively and actually very different. Samantha Bricio from USC, Cassie Strickland from Washington, and Micah Hancock from Penn State. And Micah was very effective. She was a lefty. It had a lot of side spin as well as a lot of speed. Samantha Bricio, almost like a hybrid floater, even though she hit it like a spike serve. And then Cassie Strickland, a lot of true top spin and very fast. So all 3 girls were effective, I think, because they hit it fast, which is ultimately the most important thing. I think speed is going to overwhelm, the passer. But you just don't see it a lot in the women's game because I think passers would tell you that if it didn't have heat and it didn't have a lot of speed, they would rather pass that than a good floater that would move. So I think that a lot of girls can serve the float serve more effectively and because maybe they can't hit it as hard. But certainly if you can, it can be very effective because it's very different than 95% of the serves that are out there.
Okay, so I think the jump topspin serve can be really effective with proper mechanics behind it. And let's talk about the arm swing first. So is it different from a front row tack and a back row tack, or do you have the same mechanics with the arm swing?
Yeah, I think you want it to be the same. I think it's a good carryover. You spend a lot of time in the front row and then maybe progress into the back row, but yeah, I think you want it to be the same principles. You want your arm swing to be the same. Obviously, you have the ball's got to travel a further distance, so you want the ball to be maybe a little bit further out in front of you, but you still want it to be on your shoulder. But yeah, I mean, making sure that you get a good bend in your elbow, opening up, rotating so you can use your body. Obviously, that's how you're going to get more speed on it to have it be more effective.
So I know that with a floater, it depends on your height, on where you contact the ball. So if you're taller, you can contact a little on the higher part of the ball. If you're shorter, obviously the lower part of the ball. What's the contact point for a jump top?
Well, I think you want the serve to still be flat. You don't want it to go too high, and obviously there's a net, so you don't want it to go down. So I think when you toss it, you want to make sure that it's still on your shoulder, and you can see the bottom of the ball to make it go up a little bit, to make sure it does go over the net. If you want to miss, I would try to miss deep and not into the net. So I think the contact point is pretty much bottom of the ball to back of the ball. And trying to have it go up just a little bit.
So for front row attacks, we teach our players to get their feet to the ball and try to jump straight up as much as possible. Whereas a back row attack, we try to have them take off before the 10-foot line, laying a little bit inside. Where's a good takeoff and landing point for a topspin serve?
I think you want it to be very similar to a back row attack. I think you want to obviously take off behind the end line and land in front of it a little bit. So I think it's important that your toss is in the court a little bit, or certainly on the end line, and that'll help you jump in the court a little bit. Obviously your approach is going to take you forward, and as long as you jump behind the end line and land in the court, I think it'll help with momentum and make it go faster.
Hey everyone, we have here the member of the two-time NCS champion team, Jordan Ewart. Hey Jordan, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Thank you for being here today. So as a jump topspin server, what are some things you need to think about before you start serving the ball?
So when you first start jump top spinning and you step up to serve, you kind of got to get in the zone. It's definitely the hardest serve to master. Your first thought when you go up to serve is just get the first one in, because if you're missing serves, then you're losing the point of it. So your first task is to get your toss down. Now, when you toss in a jump topspin serve, you want to make sure you toss it off your hitting shoulder, whether you're right or left-handed. When you toss it off your hitting shoulder, it's got to be a high enough toss to where you can get a big enough approach, you can get high enough, and you can get a full swing in. So you have to get a high enough toss, and it has to be in front of you. The toss can't be too far in front of you, because then you'll contact it in front of you and the ball will just bury into the net. And you can't toss it too far up, because then you will catch the ball up here and you won't be able to generate enough power to get the ball moving. So your first thought is your toss, just high and in front of you, and it takes practice, but eventually if you keep doing it, you'll get it down. The next part that you need to focus on is your approach, and you just need to have the same mentality as if you would when you're front row. So you take your four-step approach, and it's not just a lazy approach. You got to make sure you get 4 big steps going in, you get high, and you get up there with the intention of hitting the ball hard. That's the intention of the serve. Your next thought is hitting the ball. You need to contact the ball, not under the, if you're short, then you contact under the ball to try and get that ball over the net. And if you're tall, you can more contact over the ball. So it depends on your height, and it takes a lot of practice and repetition. And also, it's a topspin serve, so you need to put topspin on the ball. So when you hit the ball, you need to snap your wrist. And when you snap your wrist, that'll generate topspin. And not only will the ball be traveling fast, but the ball will sort of make a dropping motion due to physics. And so you want to get as much topspin on the ball as you can. And also when you're hitting the ball, you want to make sure you're not just jumping up and using your arm. Because if you're just using your arm, one, that can really damage your shoulder, and you don't want to do that. Two, if you want to get as much power as you can onto the ball, you want to jump up, make sure you face, you want to get your shoulders lined up with the ball, and you want to turn into it, because using this action with your stomach is going to generate the most power you can out of your serve. So those are basically the mechanics of what you do.
Jump topspin, how much spin should you have on the ball?
When you are serving a topspin, you should put as much spin on the ball as you can. So you want to snap your wrist, and that's how you put topspin on the ball. And you want to make sure you contact the ball at a high point, and that way the ball will be able to drop more. So your objective is to get the ball to drop in front of the passer, so they are to drop in front of them so they can't pass it at balanced point. So the passer, you need to be balanced. You need to be on your feet if you want to get a good pass. If the ball's in front of them and dropping, then they're not going to be balanced. The pass is going to be all over the place. So you want to get as much topspin on the ball as you can to make the ball change different angles and mess the passer up.
Welcome back! I hope you guys learned a lot about jump topspin serving, and I want to thank Jason Mansfield and Jordan Ewart for being really great and awesome on this show. Thank you guys again for tuning into this episode. Please like, subscribe, and let me know what topics you want to discuss in the comments. If you volley, I dig it. What? What? How? No.